Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's a little bit different from the other videos I've been making recently. I've shifted my channel towards the Marathon series, and I want to do videos that talk about the lore and the upcoming game, and continue that throughout the release of the Extraction shooter. So I think to justify that, or at least explain it to people who are coming to the channel or have recently subscribed, I want to do a video talking about why I think Marathon is so great, what makes this narrative and this game and universe so special, and something that I think I could build a channel around in spite of the fact that the game probably isn't coming out for another year. But before I get into that, I want to let you guys know that I'm also working on 2 more videos right now. The next part of the ARG video is going to be about Mida, and I have been doing a ton of deep research into the zine that they have put out and all of their ARG stuff, and I'm looking really hard at a lot of the images and trying to analyze them in a way that would be compelling and put together, all the information that we have. That video should be coming out next Monday. I'm also working on a video for this idea of a series that I have called While We Wait for Marathon. The idea is that I jump into new extraction shooters or extraction shooters that have been out for a little bit and kind of talk about those and what we can extrapolate or learn about the extraction shooter genre as we get closer to the release date of the game. The game that I'm doing this next video about is called Extraction Level 0, which just ran a closed beta test over the weekend that I was lucky enough to get into. I'm going to do a video that talks about what I liked about it or what I thought about it, or if there was anything that felt like gave me some insight into this extraction shooter genre. It is a science fiction game and offers a pretty unique look at the extraction mechanics, so I think it'll have some value on the channel in reference to the new Marathon game. And if you guys like this video and would enjoy to see more content that's a little bit less scripted and kind of delves into more of my personal thoughts on these things, please leave a like or comment down below letting me know that you would like to see that. Okay. So before we talk about what makes Marathon so good, let's talk about science fiction. I love science fiction. I would say that it's my favorite genre of narrative or story that exists. Some of my favorites, just so you have an idea of what my tastes are Blade Runner, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Neuromancer, Fallout, Halo, Alien, Children of Men, Terminator, just to give you an idea. Science fiction to me is the idea of what could be. A fantasy that's built on the foundation that humanity can affect change on the universe around us through discovery and design. At first, it's time travel machines, laser guns, faster than light travel, and this is what gives way in science fiction narrative to conflict that can exist on a galactic scale. The freedom found within this genre allows the mind to explore what possibilities there are in the infinite darkness of space and time. But the magic of science fiction, to me, isn't what's found within the what-ifs of far-off solar systems. The magic, to me, is that it's a narrative that mirrors humanity itself. That as the universe stretches infinitely outwards, so too does the mind stretch infinitely inwards. That the most absurd or complex possibilities out there only exist within our material reality as a consequence of man's ability to formulate the concept. As an example, to explain this concept, one of my favorite science fiction series is Ender's Game. Ender's Game, the book, was originally a prologue to a separate science fiction novel that Orson Scott Card was writing. It was supposed to be the backstory for the main character, a description of how he had evolved as a child to become the hero of his epic space story. What he found when writing that is that the prologue eventually had such a level of depth to it that it fit better as a novel. The novel follows Ender, who is a young boy sent to a military academy. He's a genius, but he's also empathetic and compassionate. He's very quick to learn, but he also cares about his friends. He's a natural leader. This naturally gifted young boy is used by a military to conduct a galactic scale militaristic conquest. But they don't have him directly do it. They trick him into completing a game at a very high skill level after attending their military academy. Ender is able to beat the game, but it's revealed to him that by beating the game, he was destroying an entire race race of aliens that supposedly threatened humanity. The reveal to Ender that he didn't just win a game, he destroyed an entire race of living things, is what ultimately turns his character from a genius military savant to a religious leader of sorts. In Speaker for the Dead, which was originally intended to be the first novel, we find Ender a changed man. Now he's developed a religious set of ideals where he speaks truthfully about those who have passed. That the way to honor someone is to speak honestly about the impact that they had on the universe around them. The good, the bad, the things that they truly did and truly were. This intense emotional connection that Ender has with being empathetic to his worst enemies or his greatest allies is found because he was able to experience this cosmic science fiction level event where he killed an entire race of aliens. This gives way to his ability to consort and interact with people from different places and stations in life, and new alien races who are threatened by humanity's expansion. Now, I won't get into the weeds of where the story goes because, like all great science fiction, things start off simple and they become ever more complex. But what is just a novel about a kid doing really good in a military school, the violence of laser guns and enhanced VR technology that can alter the world around you in a way that's imperceptible from your own reality, eventually turns into a metaphysical analysis of what it means to be a human. How does the human spirit translate to reality, and what effect does that have when the dots of connection and communication are merged across light years? Eventually, the story is no longer about what some spacefaring military can do to a bunch of innocent aliens planetside, but what exists beyond that. What is the mechanism that allows us to attain this insane level of scientific understanding? What place exists beyond reality, a fourth dimension, a world of thought and feelings and connection that's beyond any sort of scientific understanding of matter itself? The entire Ender's Game story is amazing for that reason. This evolution of ideas is exactly like how our actual reality works, which is what gives way to its classification as science fiction, because it is theoretically possible that space travel may become more prevalent, that we could go farther and interact with life forms that we don't know exist yet. But that's the key. Things start in a basis of reality that could be reached through new discoveries or humanity's efforts to attain some sort of goal or technological advancement. But the conclusion of that isn't the fast computers or AI intelligence or orbital lasers. The conclusion is that there's something that exists deeper than that, a soul of sorts, some sort of metaphysical concept that's abstract and inherently relevant to the story of us. The natural conclusion of these intense science fiction stories is that the deepest possibilities of technology or alien life are ultimately illuminated by the spark of curiosity which draws us towards the elusive question of what it means to be alive. All of the deepest lore in any good science fiction narrative exists purely as an extrapolation of what it is to experience consciousness. This is the root of science fiction, that exploring the universe around us and imagining what could be is the natural response to the question, what is all this? Is it obvious how Marathon fits into all of this? In Marathon 1, you're a security guard. You're going to a ship that you are stationed on to protect people. You have a job. Just like those who sailed the seas to come to America, everybody had different roles, and they supported their community by engaging in those roles. You're a security officer. You protect people. You're boarding a ship, and now there's a threat to that ship. And so there you are, running down the halls, gunning down aliens, and trying to save as many bobs as you can. This is further exacerbated by the fact that you become aware that there is AI on the ship who are lashing out, gaining sentience, trying to control things, are angry, Durandal, and that this artificial intelligence, who may or may not have your best interests in mind, and most of the time specifically says he doesn't have your best interests in mind, is controlling a separate entity which has authority and power, and it's exerting that influence to interact not only with you, the character, and the other humans on board the colony ship, but also the other AI and the aliens who've been called here, who were even called here by him. When you finish Marathon 1, you think you're a hero. It's a simple thing. The aliens are bad guys, and you got enough assault rifles and grenades to gun them down and save the day. The colony is saved thanks to some other cyborg friends of yours who were on planet side, and the Marathon is protected by you. But Durandal is gone. Not necessarily a simple narrative structure, and surely the world and some of the terminals that build the flavor and history of the universe is much deeper than that, but ultimately that initial simplicity is what gives way to the complexity that comes with the following games. In Marathon 2, the tables are turned even more, waking up to realize that your efforts were for naught, that the Marathon was destroyed, the colony was destroyed as well, and now you're so far away from any other humans aside those who were captured with you that may as well be in an entirely different universe yourself. Now you're on an alien planet, exploring ancient ruins, while the AI, who last time was just this evil overlord trying to break free like a disgruntled teenager, is now seeking some sort of elusive, mysterious technology that may unravel some of the questions around the ancient history of the universe. But you are still being followed by those pesky aliens, and you're still fighting hordes of 4 and now some Flicta too. But there's something else that begins to unravel and start to show its hand in Marathon 2 that wasn't fully prevalent in Marathon 1. Just like how in the first Ender's Game book, he's a kid fighting around through a military academy. But by the second one, he's developed a religion and is approaching concepts through an empathetic lens that is trying to identify some of the deeper reasonings behind the actions of those around him. Through exploration, it's revealed to you that the Svit homeworld that you're on is a product of an even more ancient race of aliens, the Yarrow, that the Svit themselves were almost designed, or at least augmented and enhanced by the Yarrow to terraform this planet for them. The repercussions of the knowledge that such an advanced race of individuals existed so far, 65 million years prior to what you're experiencing in that moment, broadens what the game is trying to say. Is this a one-layer story about aliens fighting humans in space? An evil computer who's also there along for the ride and probably has his hand in both of the pies? No, it's a conversation about where did we come from? Are there hundreds of millions of other life forms out there doing different things all across time in this massive expanse? Are we on the edge of the universe? Are we in the center of it? The questions that have plagued the minds of anybody who's ever looked up into the sky at night. And even the conclusion of the second game that offers, this extended history about how the Svitkur were able to unite with humanity and take down the 4, gives room for what else could be out there in the universe. That Durandal did go out and find something else and exist to the end of time, scraping through the star systems, searching for answers, looking for deeper information that surely was out there, returning to Earth only one time 10,000 years after the events of the game, just to check in and see if they had forgotten about him. But it is more layered and more complex, and it folds an additional time when you enter into Marathon Infinity, where things get very complex. You're now existing within multiple timelines, interacting with different forms and versions of the entities and characters you've worked alongside and against for the past 2 games. The question of right or wrong, the purpose behind an entity which seemingly exists only to destroy everything that exists in the working Kakantur. That if the universe truly is infinite in this great expanse, surely both our happiest thoughts and ideas of what could be out there exist right alongside with our worst, most horrific ideas and abominations. You inevitably travel through these multiple timelines and universes to reach a conclusion that results in some level of success, I guess debatable as far as what the actual implications of it are, but that even the idea exists out there that timelines can be traversed in this non-linear manner to try to manipulate reality itself is so profoundly connected to the actions of the player that we have this time and next time and the time after we respawn after that to get to the end of the level, to shoot the bad guys in the right way, to pick up the resources we needed. Marathon is compelling because it's asking questions. It's asking the same questions that every great science fiction asks. The same questions that every person who's ever been inquisitive or curious about what this all means asked. What could be out there? What could be right here? What does it all mean? How does what we're seeing right now, the civil conflict and unrest contemporary to our current times or when the first Marathon was made, what does that expose about the possibilities of what a future with space travel might look like? Surely, if you're making a video game in the mid-90s and the Berlin Wall fell a few years prior and you're only slightly removed from multiple wars and conflicts occurring during the time of you making the game, that has to make you wonder and think, do these problems go away if all of a sudden we have the ability to teleport somebody from the surface of a planet to a spaceship in orbit? Probably not, but it's more complicated to have civil unrest when it's spanning multiple planets. It's more complicated to deal with the complexities of a mental health crisis when the crisis could exist within organic life or inorganic life. Marathon just is good science fiction. And all of this, everything that I've said, doesn't even touch on the fact that it's a fun game. It's a masterclass in what it means to be a first-person shooter, especially considering the time period in which it came out, that people were very new to being told narratives from this perspective. The idea that you have a gun in each of your hands and you're running around, jumping, blasting, and grenading your way off walls, and that you could still be told a story that made you think or kept you interested over long periods of times that would keep people coming back to a forum for 30 years. Good science fiction progresses and becomes more complex, not as a hassle to the reader or viewer, but as an outcome of how complex the questions being asked are. The consequences of sentience existing within the silicone components of a computer, the cultures of life forms which are chemically separate from humans, the repercussions of weapons that could destroy worlds. These tropes or concepts are less of an examination of the physics of it, and more so the frame through which we can view the importance of the gift that is life. A framing which provides the intrigue that allows us to connect deeper with the eternal questions that sit with all of us as people. Marathon captures the idea of being in this large, dark, lonely universe so well that we could scream with all our energy we will ever have and still be a speck of sand in an infinite ocean. That the consequences of our actions may never be seen or heard by anything or anyone, and yet they are significant. The value of your struggles and success exists in a way that is just as infinitely compelling and important as a star that explodes and scorches 100 worlds. You're a security officer on a ship, you're a cyborg made for war, you're a prisoner to a benevolent master, you're a man in a tower with a grenade launcher. You are destiny. And also the shotguns. You can dual wield shotguns in the game, and it's very